All right, so we are back for our Survivor Stories series. We were gone over the summer and we're really glad to have Abigail on today. Abigail, if you can wave hello, and you have your pup there right now?
Yeah.
What's this guy's name?
Name is Casper.
Casper. Casper, can you say hi?
I don't think he really wants to say anything.
Oh.
He's very quiet.
We love having him here as an emotional support animal. All right, well, we're going to give people another minute to jump on so that we can start our conversation. And so again, this is part of our Survivor Stories panel, where we interview survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking that we've worked with through No More Tears. So hopefully it can help you learn more about domestic violence and human trafficking. There's a lot of misconceptions that go on a lot about it, and people don't realize how prevalent it is and how many people are impacted by it. Feel free to leave some questions in the chat below. We can have a board member answer your questions. And also, if you feel like donating, because we're not able to do any of the work that we do without donating, you can go to nomoretearsusa.org and you will see a little pop-up in the right-hand corner for donating. You can also sign up to become a monthly donor. And again, we are 100% volunteer-run nonprofit, so we're not able to do anything without these donations. That's legal fees, housing, rental assistance, groceries, childcare, schooling, and a whole bunch of other things that Abigail's going to share with us. So again, we'll just stick around for just a little bit and let people log in. And then Abigail and Casper will be sharing stories with us today for our Survivor Stories panel. Oh, and my name is Christiana Lilly, and I am a board member for No More Tears. Happy to be here and chat with Abigail. There he is. Now he's waving. Okay, so Abigail, you and I chatted really quick. So first, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. You know, where are you from? How old are you? What are you doing today?
Well, I was actually born in Jamaica. I moved down here when I was 7. I'm 18. I turned 19 this November.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I just been really working lately. I still have my old job. I left. I went back to it. I work at Checkers. It's a fast food place. It's good for me because I'm not really good in crowds.
Oh, okay.
It's great for me.
It's good that you have steady work then.
Well, I think my thing, I always work late night shifts because I really don't sleep anyways. So getting me during the day is when I sleep mostly, because I work from 6 p.m. all the way to 2 a.m.
Okay. All right, so if anybody has a late night Checkers hankering and you want to get some Checkers, make sure if you see Abigail to say hello to her. All right, so let's begin then. So with your story, you were trafficked for almost a year, or maybe a little bit over a year, as I know you had left for a little bit. So first tell me, you were actually trafficked by your boyfriend. Tell me a little bit about how that all came about.
I actually first met him when I was 16. At that time, I didn't really know what he was into. He wasn't doing what he's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
It was really different when I met him.
And is he the same age, older?
No, he was older than me. When I first met him, he lied to me about his age. Until later on, when my dad got curious about him and stuff like that, he finally told me he was really 22 at the time.
And you were 16.
Yeah. And so for that year, we were still together, but at the same time, he didn't tell me a lot of things when I asked him about it. He just really would say, it's not my business, it's not a concern, it's nothing to worry yourself about. So for the year, I left him because of my dad and everything, and to gain trust back with my dad and stuff like that. I didn't talk to him for a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And he blocked me also, so we didn't really contact each other. And then all of a sudden, it was my 18th birthday, and I got a request to follow on my thing on Instagram. And he texted me, and I'm like, we haven't talked in a year. What is it? And he's like, I didn't block you. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to say. but and so at the time it was my birthday, and for a lot of people it's not uncommon for 18-year-olds and stuff to really smoke weed or anything. So for my 18th
It was
birthday,
a big birthday, yeah.
they wanted to smoke, so and he sold weed, like the really high quality one, and because I used to date him, he wouldn't sell me the actual price. So I went to get weed from him, and at the time I didn't know he had a girlfriend. I didn't know what he was doing for that whole year. There was no pictures of her on her page, on his page, no post, no nothing. There was nothing of her on his page. And so when he first saw me again, he's just like, "Oh, you look good. I'm so proud of you. You have a car, you have a job, you have everything now." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a year. I've just been doing whatever." And so he's just like, "What about us doing this, whatever we used to do, having sex again?" I'm like, "No, I have no interest in it, really."
You just wanted to stay friends.
Yeah, he's like, "Why not?" He asked every time we saw each other, and I think it was when it was the night his girlfriend, we were all hanging out, and she's just like, "I don't know what's happening between you and Tajon, but he's my man." And he claimed you were just like a little sister to him. And I was just like, well, they get into an argument that night because of me, because she's like, "How could you let a random be in this our empire?" And I didn't really say anything, but I was just like, at the end of the day, I wasn't random in his life, and I don't know when he turned this way, this aggressive behavior towards women or stuff like that. And when I got my car, I'm like, I don't want her driving it. She doesn't know how to drive right. She hits my bumpers, my vehicle, she's not gonna fix it. And he's like, "Okay, I understand that." And so the night that happened, she was just like, "It's either you work for us or you get out of our lives." But then he turned around and claimed that he didn't want me a part of that life, that I had too much of a sheltered lifestyle to even be a part of it.
And at that point, did you know that's what he was doing? Or when she said that, was that news to you?
I was very confused because she told me he's the one that told her to ask me because he thought I'd be more comfortable with a female figure who's already doing it asking me. I'm like, "Well, that's not what he told me." And she's like, "Well, that's what he told me." And so I was very confused. I didn't know who was really lying to me or not. And then she's like, "You make very good money for it. I've been in it for a long time." And she's like, "I'm the one that introduced him to it." And I was just like, why would you necessarily get him in the lifestyle in the first place? And so apparently he started out being security for her when he started that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess he became her pimp and started getting a cut out of her money until she moved up to girlfriend status, where I think he stopped taking her money after that. Whatever she made was hers. And I think the only thing she still paid was security. But at the time, when she started working, she was complaining about how she wasn't getting a cut out of my money because, she was the person posting me and everything and all stuff like that. And so when they wanted to go down to Tampa for a few days in my vehicle, so we all went down to Tampa. We were planning to stay for like 3-4 days. And so on our second night there, we were moving to a different hotel, and they got into a fight, and he threw coffee all over her in the backseat of my vehicle.
Like hot coffee?
She was drinking it, yeah.
Mhm.
And so she got mad later on. We went to the mall to get some stuff, and I drifted off from them. He called me, and he's like, "Where are you?" Who's pissed off or whatever. And then when we got in the car, I was getting water. And so he grabbed the water out of my hand and started pouring it in the cup. I thought he was going to do the same thing to me. And so she's like, "Oh, wow. So you're not going to pour it on her like you poured it on me and everything like that." He's like, "The difference between you and her, she just lets me say what I want to say. She doesn't butt in all the time or feel the need to interrupt like you do." And so one night we were
He
all
wanted
together.
all of you to be submissive and just listen to and do whatever he said.
Yeah, and then she got mad that I talked to him a different way than she does, that I would go off on him or I would do certain things. And so she got mad. She's like, you let her do this and that, but whenever I do it, you would hit me. And so, in a way to kind of respect her, make her feel like she was the top, is when he finally hit me for the first time when we were in Tampa and we all came down in my car. So eventually he took my phone, he took my car keys, he wouldn't give either of them back, and he locked himself in the room with his girlfriend. And he told me to stay right there, or if I go out the door, he wouldn't care about leaving me dead in the hotel. And if we weren't here, he would have killed me a long time ago. And so I didn't care what he said. I left. I went down to the hotel lady. She called the police. And we were all the way in Tampa. So I had to drive back by myself for like 3 hours. And so they were like, it's in Tampa. You would have to come back down to Tampa to file a restraining order and stuff like that. I didn't want to go back down to Tampa. That's a 3 hour drive by myself. And so I left it. I left Tampa, drove back the next morning, didn't talk to them for like 3-4 months. And then she texted me again. I didn't answer for the first few days because I'm like, I really don't know what she wants. And when she
To
saw,
back up a little bit, so with that experience, what was it that kind of convinced you or made you feel like you had to do all those things for him and her, like, be a part of the life?
I think it was at the first time when, for most females, you saw how much money you were making more than working a 9 to 5 job. You would make, say, 1,000 a day, depending how much the day is, or you make at least 600, depending. Some girls would take Adderall, everything, stay up all night, work the entire day.
Mhm.
So depended on how long you were working, how many days, if it was every day. So you would make that money, and then go spend it the next, so you could make more, get your hair and nails, everything done. Basically make what you would make in 2 weeks. You would make it in a few days or even a day sometimes. But the thing about that is just that for a lot of females, they do it, but they don't like having a pimp, because the deal was 60-40, which means your pimp got most of your money.
While you're
And
doing everything, yeah.
yeah, so they got most of your money. So at the end of the day, when you had, say, just like a job, when you get paid, your pimp would pay you after, I think, a few days or a week. I don't remember exactly, but he'll pay you. So he's like, your payout, say if you make 2,000, your payout is 800. And that's what a lot of females think. They're like, wow, if I only make 1,000, I only get 400 because I have a pimp. But at the same time, he would try and get other females that were working. When he saw they had a fight with their pimp, he would try and recruit them instead.
Mhm.
And he used to be like, do you know how much money I make? Do you know I get this, that? They were both talking about how he has a sugar mama and she has a sugar daddy, and how she doesn't care
This
if
whole web of people, yeah.
she doesn't care if he has sex with her, because at the end of the day, he's getting money from doing that stuff. And she's like, if he's not having sex for money, it only needs to be with me. And that was her biggest thing. And I guess she would give him what he wanted at the end of the day. I never understood their relationship, honestly. I'm like, if she makes you so unhappy, you might as well leave. And at the same time, I said the same thing to her. If he makes you unhappy, you might as well leave also. She kept complaining about how he's been hitting her for a year from when they started getting together.
And
And
so within sex work, there's obviously people that are doing it willingly, and they want to do it, and it's a lifestyle that they've chosen. And then there's trafficking, which is different. So how would were there restrictions that he put on you, or things that you weren't allowed to do, or threats that he made against you?
the thing is with sex workers, you can choose to work, but the thing is, when it comes to trying to get a job, they don't like that. It takes money away from them. They're not getting money from your job. All that money's going to you, so they don't really like you working at all. So because when I wanted a job, he's just like, if you work, you can't stay with me. Those days you work, you could stay in a hotel until you're ready to come work for me again. So they're not really a big fan of you trying to get a regular job. He's like, what are you gonna do with a 9 to 5? You're not gonna make that much money.
And then you can't go to the 9 to 5, because now then you don't have a place to stay, you don't have anywhere to eat, you don't have any of that support that they provide to you to sort of entice you in.
And then the same thing with my beagle. He would more hold on to my keys. I wasn't really allowed to go anywhere. He would more hold on to my own car keys. He didn't care that it was my car or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say they're more, it's like they drink and smoke every day with that type of work just to get you really hyped, stay up for the night. Because sometimes you stay up until 5 a.m., you take a good 3-4 hour nap again, and you're back up doing it all over. He'll be there for security if something ever goes wrong. There's females. I met his girlfriend and the girlfriend's best friend. They would work together at times.
Mm-hmm.
It was one night I fell asleep and they basically, he was drunk, but I guess they robbed the guy before, but I guess he liked it because he came back and they squeezed over $400 out of him. And he left, and they're just like, I guess they're more willing because she's been in it for 5 years and she's the one that introduced him to it.
It's like they're pitting you girls against each other.
Yeah, they have the term bottom B and the top one. Basically, if you're bottom, it means you were one of his workers, but you were the only one he would do things without a condom with. Basically, you were the girl at the bottom. And out of all his females that he had. So basically he had his girlfriend and then the bottom B. He wanted me to be his bottom B because we known each other for 3 years longer than he's known his own girlfriend. And so when I told him I really didn't want to stay in it anymore and I just want to go home, and he's like, what are you going to go home to? You're going to go back to your 9-to-5 job where you're barely working. I'm like, I don't really care what you think. Just give me my key and stuff so I could go. He wasn't willing to give me my key. He actually got really mad. And then that was the first time he ever put his hands on me. And then the first night I ever saw him hit his girlfriend was her birthday night. She got pulled over by police and he got really mad about it. And so the night when she came back from her party, it was me, him, her best friend, and her. And the best friend literally had to split them up because I wouldn't do anything. I wasn't gonna get in the middle of that. He had his gun. And so she
He would
split him
use
up.
a gun to threaten you guys and keep you in line, or
He told her, he put his gun on the ground and he's like, go ahead and shoot me if you think you could do it. So he just put the gun there. Her best friend threw the gun away because she's like, y'all need to stop this. This is getting too much. And a lot of people actually know they fight, they hit each other. It's like a regular to them. So when most people see it, they don't really say anything. She's called the family on him plenty of times. Her family's told him to leave plenty of times. But at the same time, I realized she would never kick him out just for the fact that he's the one that pays all her bills. The one thing about you having a pimp and you being his top girl, he does everything for you. And so most girls aren't willing to give that up.
so you get a lot of security, but at a high price.
Yeah, and the one thing about doing that type of work, you have sex with a lot of different people throughout the day. And then half the time you don't even realize who comes in, who goes out. You have Percocet, Adderall, Class C, so many different things to try, liquor every day, weed every day.
Yeah.
There were certain days I didn't want to smoke and drink with them. They're like, "Bro, you're not gonna." I'm like, you gotta understand that he told her, and she was mad about it too, because she's like, she doesn't really smoke or drink, and I guess she was mad that he's known me longer and knows what I'm into and what I'm not into. And he's like, she doesn't really smoke or drink, she doesn't really have sex or any of that stuff, it's just not really her thing. And so I guess in a way she got mad because they would buy Hennessy every day along with weed and Percocet and Class C and all type of stuff. And not only that, he would basically budget the money I earned. He's like, you got to remember, I bought this for you, I bought that for you, and all types of stuff like that. And then
he's already taking 60% of anything you make. So the amount you end up taking home just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and then the thing is, the money you make, you don't keep that same money. You give it to him, and then he gives you the rest of your money at the end of the day. And then when you do get paid, he wants to see your hair, nails, all that stuff done. He's like, you gotta look presentable. If you're standing by my side, you can't look so messy and look like you have nothing. So when I first started getting them, they're like, you're throwing those shoes out, you're throwing those clothes out, you're getting your hair done, your eyelashes, nails, everything. He's just like, you have to look presentable. The one thing with, I would say, what's different between trafficking and sex workers is trafficking is not really willingly, and they don't have as much free will as sex workers. Some sex workers do go into it willingly, but then it's the problem with getting out of it that makes it hard. Because you bring in a lot of money, they don't want to let you go. So they would more willingly beat you up and make you stay and just work. And so I would say if you're a sex worker, you could at least go out, you'll have dinner with your pimp, you'll go to different places if they sing or anything like he was, go to the studio with him, being outside with him, being on the road with him most of the time, eating with them. That was the really biggest thing. And then that you also have the ladies that work across, they don't necessarily stay down there, but he still gets some money from them. And then with them, they're mostly just your security, and you mostly stay in hotels. You don't really stay with them. So I'll say with sex workers, you have a better living situation because your pimp would more likely let you stay with him rather than paying money for you to stay in a hotel unless you're actually working. Some of them will work out of their household just to make enough money in order to go to a hotel. I think the biggest hotel we went to that there is a lot of workers, a lot of sex workers is the Inn. It's actually by the international airport. It's a whole bunch of ladies there. You'll literally walk out of the room and see men flowing in, men flowing out. It's literally where most workers go.
And when you were there, do you think the staff knew what was going on?
Some places you go, the staff does know what's going on. There's 2 places I went where the staff knew that what was going on and actually just minded their business. They didn't really care for it. The
I
place
know some places, if you give them a tip or whatever, they'll do whatever, leave you guys alone for a couple days and not clean or things like that, and just sort of let it fly under the radar.
Well, yeah, because then, they're still getting money because you're booking more and more days if that hotel goes well. Some people think sex workers only stay in motels. That's not true at all. You will literally go anywhere as long as it doesn't have police presence. I've been really fancy hotels where I couldn't really believe it. $200, $300 just for a night. And as long as they don't have police, we'll definitely stay there. So when people think, oh, we are trying to go to this hotel because there's no possible way sex workers or trafficking could be here, it's not true. It just means they're more closed off about it. They're more careful. They try and get a room where there's no cameras, where it's easy exit. So if police does come, you could run out. Or say if you have a problem with one of the workers, one of the people that you service, and they go downstairs and tell the hotel, the hotel's going to kick you out. You make sure you have easy access to get out before they call the police. That has happened to us 2 times before. Basically, everybody has different rates for how you work. The lowest rate I have ever seen a female go is $40.
Wow.
But it really depends on where you look and where you go. Some females work out of their house because they are trying to save money, not paying for a hotel at all. And there's other females that charge us up to $500 for some things. Like if you do two girls, a 2-girl special, it's $500. And then there's up to $100 for just a regular time with a girl for just 10-15 minutes. It's $100 for some girls. So you make a lot of money, even if you just get 3 dates for some days, you charge $80. When I first started out, they made my rate $60. And when they saw I was getting better, they raised it to $80. And then they raised it to $100. And so I kept on getting $80 and $100 dates. And so I got really sick one day. I had it was something with my throat.
Like strep throat or laryngitis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throat. And so I had to go to the hospital. I'm like, I don't feel good. My throat's not good. I can't work today. I can't do it. And he's like, nobody's leaving until I get my treat, which is money. And I'm like, I can't work. I can barely speak. And he's like, I don't care. I'm like, well, I don't care if you don't care. I'm not going to work. And he's like, you've been acting a sort of way to me because of my girlfriend. She makes you think it's okay with the way you talk to me. And I think at that point, I sort of got pissed off. And I'm like, before you got into this business, you were a completely different person. You had an honest job. You were working a restaurant job. And the thing is, it was like beneficial for both of them. He can't get a good place because he's a felon. So she got the place, but he paid all the bills. And that's the real reason they really stay with each other. It's
They
nothing
needed
really.
each other, yeah. And then
But
were you allowed to talk with your family and friends while you were with them?
he specifically didn't like one of my friends. Like they didn't like each other. So when I told him I wanted a day to myself to hang out with one of my friends, he was opposed to it. He's like, if you make quota, then you could go hang out with your friend. Quota was $1,000.
Wow.
Means say if I did $80 dates, I had to get 1,000 plus the hotel money afterwards. So basically, I raised 1,000 and something dollars. And so as long as I raised the hotel money, we'd book a hotel, and then I raised the rest of the money for the night. We've been to quite a few hotels, from Coral Springs to Hollywood to Miami. We've been to different places.
And I mean, with that, it's basically you have to see 12 or 15 men before he would allow you to go hang out with your friend, basically.
Yeah. And even then he wasn't really keen on her or whatever, because she didn't like what I was doing, and I didn't really blame her.
Mm-hmm.
And she heard I got away from them. But the day that finally ended it for me is after they got into the car accident, which completely totaled my vehicle, left me with no vehicle, nothing. The next day, he literally broke my TV also out of his anger with my own car keys. And so that day, I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. And he had his brother's gun, but it was no bullets in it. And I was walking out of the door because I'm like, I told his girlfriend, book me an Uber. I'm going home. I can't deal with this anymore. And he's like, nobody's leaving until I get my money. I'm like, I don't care what you say. I'm leaving. I'm not staying with you anymore. You promised you wouldn't put your hands on me again. That was the only reason I considered coming back around you, and you did. And he's like, I told him, you might have stayed with him for a year with him putting his hands on you, but 2 times is enough for me to not want to be around him anymore. And so that's when he literally grabbed, his friend was outside. His friend walked up. He grabbed my shirt, pulled me inside, and me and him were fighting because I told him to let me go. And he tried to grab my hand. I was holding on it so it's strong that it slid across to where my TV was on the floor. And we ended up in the couch and we were fighting. And he grabbed both my hands, but he couldn't grab my feet. So I kicked him. And I was running for my phone, but he grabbed it before I could. And I rushed to the door because I'm like, you're not leaving with my phone. And so that's when he pulled out the gun and he put it under my chin. And he's like, she told him, she's like, you need to put that away. You can't get caught with a gun. So it's like the fact that she wasn't really concerned for me. She was more concerned of him not going to
On
jail.
his record than him killing you. Yeah.
And so he's like, and I think he got to, because I wasn't scared of the gun. I said, as long as you give my phone, I'm just going to leave. It's just like the fact I can't believe you would really pull a gun for me for the fact that I'm trying to leave that. I don't mind working a 9 to 5 job because at least I didn't get sick. I didn't feel as sick or anything like this. And so when I finally got my phone back, it wasn't before he ripped my shirt and bruised my arm really bad that when I tried to even move my arm, it hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I started having an anxiety attack and I called out the ambulance and they came for me and they're just like, do you want to go to the hospital? You're already in the ambulance. I'm like, yeah, but can you take me to the one in Coral Springs? Because that's the hospital I know. And I met an officer there and he told me that he actually regularly knew my pimp and that he's always caused problems. And he's like, the next time you go back, you'll probably end up dead. And he's known him for a long time. He's always caused problems since he was little, and I need to report him and get away from him as soon as possible. And so I did. And then the next 2 days, I went back for my clothes, and she was hiding him from the police. And they're
So
like,
the police went with you to get your clothes and everything? Like they
yeah,
supported you? Yeah.
there wasn't enough proof on him to arrest him. And I think that's what's really got in me. It's just that they're like, even if he put a gun to you, there was no bullets in it, so he can't get charged for it. But I'm like, it doesn't matter that he has a gun in his possession, even though he's a felon, regardless if it has bullets or not. And they're like, there's no charge for it. We can't charge him.
And the trafficking is so hard for them to prosecute on that as well.
And then so he got away. I haven't talked to them in months, haven't seen him. She texted me, you almost got my son taken. Don't ever talk to me again. Don't ever contact me again. And I'm like, honestly, your son really shouldn't be with you. For a 6-year-old who sees you get beat and who sees you, or who keeps on saying, stop, mommy, or even you beat him for walking in on what you do, sex trafficking. So it's like you beat him for it. And even her friend Lexi's very tall. She lives in Georgia. She works down there. And both of them, it's just like, it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. We make a lot of money. We have a lot of money saved up. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you're still having sex with countless men. And it's just like, the one thing with that, with every girl, they say you have to throw out your the respect you had for yourself, your body, everything. You have to throw that all out in order to have confidence to even do that work. Because when you think about it, you have some girls that would do things like without condoms because it would get them more money.
Yeah.
The money faster. And there was a girl she worked with, and so that girl would only see white men because she did everything without condoms, or she did girlfriend experience, which means you kiss her, all type of stuff. So she would only see. And it was surprising because at first I didn't understand why. I'm like, why only white men? And they're just like, with black men, they do way worse things and stuff like that. And it's
so
like,
how did you get in touch with Somi now with No More Tears? How did that come about?
The lady, well, no, I should say the officer told me he would call somebody from them. I didn't even know about No More Tears, honestly, or Women in Stress. I didn't even know they exist, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So
did it even occur to you to call any, or like just?
My friend sent it to me because she's like, you have nowhere to go. You don't want to go back to that house with those people. I'm like, you have a point. And so she sent me their number, and guy had a female come over, and she's like, do you have anywhere to go to for night? I'm like, no, I don't talk to my family anymore. I'm not going back with those people. I don't really have family down here. So that night is when she got me into a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say probably a day or two later, Somi called me about doing the intake and everything, the interview, and if I was okay with it and where I was staying. And after that, it's just like Somi really helped me a lot, because after that, she helped me get the place I'm staying in right now. And after I got situated in my new place and they got me furniture, everything, my list, and all of them, I thank the board, thanks Somi. I started actually going back to work. I don't work the same place I live. I work all the way in Coral Springs. And so, but I couldn't be ever more grateful than when I met Somi. I figured out what I want to do after college. I got back into doing schoolwork, into doing the things I like. And it's just that meeting Somi, I would say, is the situation I met her through is not ideal. But at the end of the day, I am glad I met her. She's a very nice person. All the females I met, they're all very nice, and I'm thankful.
I haven't met you at Park Day yet, so hopefully I'll meet you soon.
Park Day is actually great. It's the one day I look forward to. It's literally so funny because the only day I have off is Saturday, which is Park Day.
So for people that don't know, on Saturdays we have Park Day, where we get together with a lot of the No More Tears children, and we go to the playground, we order pizza. My dog is now squeaking his toy. maybe getting Casper excited. And so it's just a day where everybody can kind of get together, and a lot of the moms and a lot of the young women and men that go as well, they know that the people around them understand where they've come from and won't judge them. And if they do want to talk to each other or even just, you know, make friends and network, that's always a great thing. So I'm really glad you've been going to Park Day. Miles, quit it.
Yeah, very curious. Yes.
And so a lot changed for you really quickly. As I know you were saying, you know, before you got into the life and before you started getting trafficked, that you didn't really do drugs, drink, you know, you weren't really into that and everything. And then all of a sudden, like you were talking about your life being trafficked, in just a year, your life had changed so much. Do you remember kind of a moment where you were thinking like, I don't want to do this, or how did I get into this situation?
I did. I think at first, the one thing when you become a sex worker, it's really, they show you, okay, before I got into it, they show you the lifestyle, they show you how few days to go, they show you what you would be doing. And honestly,
It looked very glamorous. Yeah.
yeah, they make it look like, look how much money you make, look how expensive we eat, look how many hotels we go to, look at our building, our house style. They're like, we could help you get enough money to get your own apartment like this. You could be living great like this. That's what they used to say all the time. And so they wanted to show you that, and they even tried to make me talk to my own friends into it, try to get more workers. I'm like, no, I'm not telling any of my friends, I'm not getting my friends into this. And it's just like, it what bothered her most is when they would get workers, he would try to have sex with them. And it made her really angry because she's like, why do you need other people if I'm here? And I said, you got to understand what with pimps, they're never really satisfied by one female. They always want to test out their females when they come.
And I think that's really telling when you said you didn't want to invite your friends into it. Because if you thought if you were enjoying what you were doing and, you know, felt confident, you would have been like, hey, you guys should be doing this too. But the fact that you were like, I don't want them to have to do this is really telling, you know?
You don't get comfortable because when you think about it, it's just like it's a lot of people, a lot of different people you're having sex with, a lot of different races, a lot of everything. And I think for me, it's just that when I chose not to have a boyfriend anymore, just because of what I was doing, and because he claimed I wasn't allowed to have one, because whenever I did try to hang out with my boyfriend, if I ever had one, I was never allowed to. And that made them angry. They're like, who are you with? What are you doing? And I could never really tell them that. So I ended up breaking up with them at the end. And then at the part is where he was more interested in having me at the end of the day and having other females, and me not being able to be with anybody. Because he's just like, if you're with somebody, you can't tell them what you're doing, which means most days you can't even explain where you are, what you're doing, where you're going, and when they want to spend time with you, why they can't.
And I think this also brings up a lot of misconceptions that people have about human trafficking. Is a lot of people think, you know, when you get trafficked, you get kidnapped from an alleyway, or a stranger grabs you and they shackle you up to a bed, and you knew your trafficker, and you were there's the idea that it seems like you were able to come and go freely, but it's not like that. You know, the reality of trafficking is so much of the mental, you know, games that they play with you.
The thing is, it's just that I feel like when you watch so many shows and you catch certain females shackled and changed to bed, because that's how a lot of shows partake it. And for some, that is the situation, but not for all. For some people, you literally,
that's not what it is. Yeah.
You want to get your life better faster. That's the reason why some females go into it. They're thinking, shoot, this will make my life get better faster rather than me working a 9-to-5 job, and it takes me this long to get the pay I'm getting in a few days. So at first you start thinking like that when you see how much money you're making and the different ways you do it, because there was car dates, there was hotels, there was your house. There's a bunch of different ways females did things. And for some, hotels were the most popular, and they would travel just to get more money, because we worked in Coral Springs one time, and I believe I made $1,700 that night.
Wow.
And so they're like, Coral Springs is really hitting. And so they would let me choose the hotel sometimes, but he would also take her intake on it. And this is where she got mad. I chose this hotel in Coral Springs. And so it was really hitting. We were getting a lot of people. She was also working. And so she decided she wanted to go to an ex hotel, and he let her do it just to teach her a lesson, because he's just like, we were at least getting people in Coral Springs. In this hotel, he spent $200 and something, and we didn't get a single person. So we didn't make up back the money we spent for the hotel. And so he's just like, I just wanted to teach her a lesson, really. And then the thing is, with sex workers, they'll still work on their period. They'll just, there's this thing called stuffing, where it's like, I guess these kind of things you more likely use on your face or scrubs, you just put them in to stop your bleeding.
Mhm.
And you just work like that, because they're just like, it happened to me because I got mine on a Friday night. They're like, it's the busiest night, there's no way you can't work. And that's when she teach me to do it. And ever since then, she's like, if you got your period, this is what you're gonna do, because you need to work. I'll tell you, traffickers don't really call the pimp pimp. I would either call him by his name, but she would call him daddy. It's like the way they sexualize the word meaning.
Mhm.
So they're like, this is that. I'm the one that takes care of everything for you, so call me that. And I think it's just saying is that you would think you would more do anything for your boyfriend, for your significant other, somebody you thought really loved you. So you would more like try and be willing to help them out at the end, which is how a lot of females end up in it. People have to understand, yes, it's not the lifestyle they chose, or when they first started out, yes, it was willingly, but after a while, they have no interest in it. They want to go back to their life, and they really try to get out. But after that, your pimps aren't really willing to let you out. They're not gonna go, they'll be more willing to hurt you, because even that day, the only way I got out is literally because he was hurt the previous day because of a car accident. So he wasn't really that strong. His leg was broken, he had breathing problems. And so he just left with his friend. But if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have been able to go out that day, or I wouldn't have been able to call the ambulance to even get out.
Able to fight him off the way you did.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's the fact that when she told me I was very wrong for calling the police on him, and I told her, I said, he's been putting his hands on you for a year, but I'm the person that's wrong for calling the police on him. She's like, nobody deserves to be in jail. And I'm like, there's certain people that do need to be in jail. I said, how much females has he brought in? How many times has he cheated on you? How many times has he put his hands on you? And I'm just like, I don't understand your relationship. It's obvious you guys aren't leaving each other for beneficial values. And it's the day where she called me after Tampa, and from a random number too. And she was just like, they said a bunch of things to me. They're like, remember, we have a bunch of videos of you, we have this and that. And she's like, remember that. I didn't say anything back to her. And it was just the fact that I got really drunk one night with them. I think it was after an argument with my dad. They had Hennessy, and I got really drunk with them. And I got so drunk that I still don't have memories of what happened. And it's just like, they told me what happened the next morning. And I'm like, you got to understand that I was drunk. And he's like, well, my girl wanted to see it, and we regularly have sex anyway, so it's fine. I'm like, no, I was blackout drunk. I don't have any memories.
That's right.
And he's like, well, you threw up, we cleaned you off, we put you to sleep afterwards. And he's just like, I'm like, I remember bits and pieces without saying is like, I'm not in the mood, or no, or just let me go. And he's like, you were only saying that because you think you would throw up during it. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I said it because I was drunk. It really throw up, and I wanted to go to sleep. I wasn't interested in doing anything, because they were more interested in doing a threesome, and it wasn't really my thing. I wasn't interested in her at all. And him, I had certain feelings for him, but feelings I wanted to let go of, because I saw the person he was becoming, the person he became. And I think really that
conflicted, your feelings for him, and then how he was treating you.
I think he got angry at the fact that I was losing interest in him, that basically my face started becoming stoic, blank expressions, no feelings at all, no terms for anything they were doing. I just stopped caring in general. Because at the end, when I started doing what I did, I lost all my family. My friend was still not really talking to me because she didn't like what I was doing. So I lost everybody because I got involved back with him again. And she claimed how, he didn't need me back because he was on the road with his friend doing some illegal stuff. And so I'm like, if you didn't need me back, why did you text me in the first place after months of us not talking? And she's just like, I thought I would just help you hustle. And I'm like, she's having a lot of job opportunities. We literally went to Denny's. Her boss offered her $16 an hour at Denny's. Mm-hmm. She's like, coming back if I get that. She literally turned down the job because she was more interested in doing what she's already doing. And she literally told me how she cheated on him plenty of times, all that stuff. And I said, so you're willingly doing this because I've literally seen you had a bunch of job opportunities that I would kill to get the type of pay you're getting now. I would kill for it. $16 an hour because I get $11 an hour, and for my 2 paychecks is how I make rent. So if I was getting $16 an hour and all the due date, I would think you might want to live on your life, but she depends on him to pay everything, so she's not going to let that go. And it's just that she's the one that cocks females into it. She's the one that talks to the females. She's the one that shows them the ropes. She's the one that gets a cut out of the money you make after doing a date. She sometimes even sends her own dates to you because they prefer an ex-girl.
And so we were talking about how quickly your life changed from, after, being 18, and then now your life has already changed a lot again, just after a few months. Can you tell me how your life has changed from when you were being trafficked and, living that life to what you're doing now?
Honestly, before I met them, I was getting a $10 an hour job. I was getting straight A's in school. I had a 3.7 GPA. Mm-hmm. I on the way to getting into a good college. And when I met them, that all went down the drain, and I stopped attending junior year. So I didn't go to school my entire junior year. I stopped talking to my family. I have no vehicle now. That vehicle costs $26,000. I don't have that vehicle anymore. Mm-hmm. They're pay for it. And now I'm trying to get back in school, get my life back to where it was, get back a vehicle.
You think going back to school, going back like for your GED?
No, they're still letting me get my credits, because the thing is, I started doing high school credits in middle school. So when high school came, I already
you were ahead. Okay.
And so that's what made a lot of my teachers mad. They're like, you're not a dumb person. You always had good grades. You always had straight A's. And I'm just like, my life took a swift turn. And it's just that now you could kind of see I'm back to where I was at 16, except now I live by myself. I don't live with family. At 16, I had no vehicle. I didn't have everything I had now. So it's like taking a back step to try and get back, fix my grades, get back my car, do what I originally wanted to do, get back to where I wanted to go in college and everything.
Mm-hmm. And so what are your dreams? What are you hoping to do?
Honestly, I've always wanted to work with kids for the longest time. I've always just gotten along with them better than I do with I would necessarily say adults, because a lot of people judge how my face looks without really understanding what it necessarily means. Not really me trying to be mean or anything. It's just I just have a blank face expression sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I always spent time with my little brothers and my little sisters. I used to always have fun babysitting them, playing around with them. It was always my thing. I actually loved helping kids learn and everything like that. And so, I saw how some kids grew very unfortunate. And even with my own sister, they don't live down here with me. They live in Jamaica. I was the only one brought up. And it's just, I would necessarily say I don't really talk to my mother's side, but she was a great little sibling, and I loved her with everything, and I wanted to see her grow right, have a great schooling life. My biggest thing is just I want to see people have opportunities that other people never had at the chance, make them have a real lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely understand how quickly somebody can go off track then and end up in situations like you were in.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, well, Abigail, thank you so much for telling your story. And I'm really glad that No More Tears is able to help you. I know we've helped you with rental assistance for the first and last month, I think, and helping you get back into school. So I'm just really hoping for the better for you and that you can make a change, for other people and yourself. And I'm really glad. I know you also said that you're in therapy now, and that's a huge part of No More Tears, is making sure all of our survivors go to therapy. So actually, really quick before we go, how has that helped you, talking to somebody?
It's helped me a lot because I'm regularly bottled up about certain things. I only really disclose so many things to people, so it's helped me a lot. And once again, I thank Somi and No More Tears and Melissa and the board and everything. I wouldn't be where I was without them. So I thank them for all they've done for me, what they continue to do for me. And so I'm forever grateful for meeting them.
And I know that they're so happy to be able to help you. So again, everybody, if you were really moved by Abigail's story and all the stories that we've been sharing here on Survivor Stories, you can make a donation at nomoretearsusa.org, and you can hit the donate button there and you can become a monthly donor. You can make a one-time donor. We also have some big fundraising events coming up because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And then we also have our big luncheon in the fall. And then finally, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So Abigail, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're doing so much better. And I really appreciate you telling your story. I know it's not easy.
Thank you. Say bye, Casper.
Bye, Casper. All right. It was great talking to you, Abigail. Bye.
Bye.